All right, I hope you have gotten yourself a little bit of a coffee and that you're ready to do some work, because now we're going to make your thoughts and ideas into those actionable steps so your teams can make you millions. That's what we're hoping to do here. This exercise has 3 steps. The number 1 is I want you to select a task. Hopefully you already done that way back. Preferably one that has high rewards and is easy to delegate, and that will give you at least 5 hours back per week. This is super important because we want to make this really worth it. And do the job here now, because by the end of this, you will actually have the time back. Like, it's not just you're going to learn stuff, you're going to actually get your time back. So if you're, whatever you're doing, stop it, focus on this, and it will be worth your time. I truly, truly promise you. That's the first step. Select that one. Then we're going to do it step by step together, how to actually fill out this tool. And then we're going to expand upon it if that's something you need to make it work for your team. But we're going to focus here in the middle of the purpose end state rules. That is the most important thing. Like, if you take away anything, it's that you need to communicate these 3 things, because otherwise you'll end up in that situation we looked at before, which is going to waste your time instead. Here's one of my favorite quotes. Perfection is achieved not when there's nothing more to add, but when there's nothing left to take away. That's what we're going for here today. We're going to make sure that your communication is so tight and so crisp that there's no way no one can misunderstand you. That's our goal. And it's a trick, it's a challenge. But with the tools I'm presenting with you today, it's going to work perfectly. So we're going to take all the things we talked about over here on the left, and I've shoved all of that into this tool. And that's what we're going to look at right now. By the end of this exercise, I want you to have something like this, something that you could send to your VAs or your teams so they can fully work in your spirit or actually understand what it is that you want them to do. So you don't have to deal with all the frustrations and redoing and all that crap that's just nobody wants to do. And this is the exact thing that I sent to Fiona for her to create the slides that you've been watching. So if you think those slides were pretty decent, then that is definitely like one of those classic simple tasks that is easy to screw up, but with a few guidelines, with a few tricks and tips, you can really make it work. So let's say I saved 30 minutes of editing on each one of those slides, and I had 15 different ones, like 7.5 hours. 7.5 hours from taking the time to fill this out. That's pretty good. And I haven't worked with this. I've worked with this lady a few times. It's not something that I know her super well or like we're super tight or anything. It's just someone who was recommended by a friend. I gave her this task to test it out, see how she performs. And she could understand it perfectly, and it just works. So this is what I want for you. So by the end of this session, by the end of this little exercise, this is what you're going to have. A very simple filled out thing. But this is not where we start. We're actually going to start somewhere else. We're going to start with the full document. So the full document or the full tool looks something like this. This is what I call the crystal clear delegation tool. This will have all the questions and all the things that you need to make sure that you communicate enough of information, but not too much. This is based on 13 years of military experience, and it is taken from military planning and intensive operations and been boiled down to only the essentials and then adapted for course creators specifically. There are a few rules up here so you can read when you get the time, but the most important thing that you understand is that every time you delegate, you need to use this red box. You don't have to use this document, but you're going to have to communicate these 3 things. Because if you don't, you're going to end up in that circle we talked about before, and you're going to have to redo stuff. And you're going to have to deal with those frustrations. We don't want that. We want better things for you. So here we go. First, I'm going to go through the entire tool, and then I'm going to look at the specifics, and then we're going to do this step by step with you. The tool in its entirety looks something like this. You will have the tool at the top, and then you will have an example further down, which is a real-world example from a lady I used to work with. And then you will have some instructions at the bottom if you're getting stuck with something. But the thing we're going to focus on today is the top part, which is this part. So without further ado, since the red box is the most important things, that's also what you're going to focus on. So every time you delegate, use the red box. It's the minimum effort with the highest output. And we want that. First off, we got to figure out what the heck this is. Why is this important, or what it is and what the rules are? So I like to start at the end state, because this is usually where we have an idea. We want something to be created. And I'm going to run you through the example that got me to the position where I had Fiona create these slides for me. So in the end state, I want to clearly define what the world will look like once the task is completed. And what I mean by that is that what is the results, what is the outcome that I want, the tangible thing. In this case, I wanted her to create Google Slides for me. I wanted her to edit it, to make it go from being crap to being beautiful. So the end state would be like beautiful slides. So that's okay. My idea is something like a beautiful slides. And now it's time for you to do this with me. You're going to fill this out with me. You'll find this document, link below. So start filling this out. Figure out exactly what it is that you want from them. So I started out with wanting to have like a beautiful slide, something like that, right? But I need to make it more precise, because what the heck is that? What does that mean exactly? And I'm going to show you what I wrote. The way you do this so that people understand is that you focus on, you formulated something like this. When the task is complete, ... So that means that you're projecting them into the future, and you're telling them when this task is complete, you will have delivered something. And in this case, this is what I wrote. There will be 4 Google Slides professionally formatted and ready to use in the recording. Something like that. And then it expanded into being 15 because I wanted to do more stuff, because she did it so well and it was so easy to lead. So I'm telling you here now, it's Google Slides. They're professionally formatted and they're ready to use in the recording. So she knows, like, I should be able to use them instantly. There's no need to touch up or fix or do anything. So this is as precise as I had to make this for her to understand. Now you go ahead, you create a rough end state of what it is that you want. Do you want to create a carousel? Do you want them to admin some type of things? Do you want them to analyze? Whatever it is that you want to. Once I figure out what it is that I want, I need to communicate why this is so important. Like, how does this connect to the higher picture? And here we explain the purpose of the task. And if we can, we want to emphasize a why that they care about. Because if you can play on the things that they want and the things that they enjoy in life, then chances of them engaging with our task is way higher. Like, it's the difference between a task sucking and a task being something like they enjoy doing, because they see the meaning of it. So if you know your VA, if you know your team fairly well, I would like for you to communicate this in a way where they see the value of doing this. Because chances are they don't give a crap about your, generating money to the business. They don't unless they see the benefit of this, then it doesn't really matter. But you want to create the operational purpose, like why is this important in the business, and then if you can, you want to connect it to their personal why, the things that they like. So the purpose I chose was, these slides are meant to be used while teaching a new course on delegating. It will be a pre-recorded video with slides and a camera. So this means that she now knows that it will be a pre-recorded video, and it will be with those slides and a camera, which is the thing that you're looking to me right here. So she needs to leave, if she's attuned to and really reading this, what she was, she will understand she has to leave some space for this little camera thingy. She now knows what the end state is, like what she needs to produce. She also knows why she needs to do it, like how does this slide fit into something. Because if I were to present at a big event or something, then maybe we need to structure it differently, so the slides would be seen by the people in the background or something like that. So the why is really important. That leads us to the rule set down here. This is basically telling them what they can't do and what they must do. In my case, this was fairly easy. I know that, okay, what does she need to do? She needs to follow the brand rules. She needs to follow the right colors, needs to be in the Google Slides. There's a bunch of things. So basically, I just brainstorm what it is that I want them, that they have to do, and the things they don't, and the things they cannot do. These are the things that, if they fail on this, the task is a shit show. Like, I can't use it. And what I came up with was something like this. You got to use the brand colors, because if you're using the wrong colors, it's like, that doesn't make any sense to me. I also give her the guidelines that readability is of higher value than fancy. So I want to make it simple. I give her some additional guidelines here on don't edit the slide notes or the skipped slides. And then I gave her some basic rules that needs to adhere to, like they need to be aligned, text needs to be formatted, slides use blah, 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 and then some things that I like. And then I gave her a deadline down here. So if she breaks any of these, the task has not been completed. So before, and this we go into this more in the Delegation Master course, but you want to make sure that they clearly understand this and agree to this before you set them off, even if it's someone that's on your team or if it's a VA. It doesn't really matter, because you want to make sure that they understand this thing and that you guys have the same picture of the outcome so that they can work autonomously. Otherwise, they once again are going to produce things that are not really what you want. But if you do it like this, it's an 80% certainty that they will get it and they will understand. It takes a little bit of time to figure this out, and that's why I'm now offering you to do these purpose and state rules and send it to me for feedback, and I will make sure to give you my honest opinion on how you did so that you can improve. In the rules here, I want you to use the alien test. And basically the alien test is when an alien should be able to come down from, planet Mars or something and have a look at your rule set and say yes or no. There shouldn't be a lot of subjectivity here. It's like, did they use the brand colors? Yes or no. Like you could look at it and say, yep, these are the brand colors, or it's not. This one is a little bit more tricky. I would love to avoid these things if I can, but in this sense, I gave it a shot and see if it could work, because this has some ambiguity. It's like readability is higher value than fancy. It's more of like a guideline than a rule. There's a reason why I did that. And then here's another one, add animations to bulleted list. So that means they're going to pop up one after one after one. These are all the things that anyone can go in there and have a look at and say, yeah, she did it. So I should be happy, right? And then down here, I also include my deadline. And since I'm using Google Workspace, which is something that I teach together with Asana and Monday inside Delegation Mastery on how to set up and work properly, I also make sure that this is tagged in her workspace. So she gets pinged when she's getting close to the deadline. This is the most important thing. If there's anything you're taking away from this course, is to learn to use this little tool here, purpose and state rules. You don't have to use this template. You just have to communicate these three things, because otherwise you're going to get back to having to redo things and thinking that your VA sucks, but honestly it could be they who suck, it could be you who suck, or it could be your business structures who suck. But we're going to make sure if we've done this properly, then at least we can exclude them from the equation. Because if you're doing this properly and they still can't give you the results that you want, then it's probably time to find someone else. And I have an entire section on when to find someone else and when to keep them on the podcast. But for now, this will do 99% of it. Now that we have done the bare minimum, the essentials, it's time to think, okay, do I have more time to spend on this? Do I have more time to prepare for a potential situation where they're going to ask me more questions, or like they don't have the password and blah, blah. Then we go from the start. Then you're going to add whatever information you have about the current situation, challenges, and you'll see there are questions down here, like what are the difficulties that this task aims to solve? For more complex tasks, this is something you really want to like to add, but for simple admin things, you could just skip it. They don't really need to know that, and you're going to probably be wasting your time at this stage. But there might be things further down below that could be really interesting. So I want you to just read through these things and add whatever makes sense to you. In my example here, I had resources that she needed to add, which are these slides. She must be able to access the slides, right? Because otherwise she can't really work with it. So I made sure that she had access to these slides, and they're all in here. Other than that, I did not add much else. You will see down here that we're talking about what and when will you check in on them. This is a big deal when it comes to making sure that they feel not micromanaged, but instead taken care of. This is a big part of a module that I call checking in your team to make sure they're doing the right things the right way without feeling micromanaged. So that will be part of the Delegation Mastery, which we will not have time to go through here. But I want you to know this is a very important one if you want to keep your team feeling cared for. But other than that, you just go through the list, you see, okay, there's anything I need to add, yeah, blah, blah, nothing. But as long as you've done this, you've done most of the part. Now that you fill that thing out and you have formulated this fairly well, all you do now is just remove everything that's excess. So you remove this part, you remove everything that you haven't filled out, and you should end up with something that looks like this. So I've removed everything that isn't relevant for the VA, which is the important part. Like they're going to read the absolute minimum. They're going to, if you want them to read it, you're going to have to minimize as much as you can. So I've removed everything. I've added resources, which in case includes money as well. But other than that, that's all they get. So what you need to do now is you go back, you formulate your words, and you trim out everything that isn't needed for the person to understand, and you have this purely beautiful little task order ready to be sent out to your VA. By now, you should have filled out the delegation tool, and the red box is required because that is the thing that we're going to send to our VA. If you don't have that, you got to go back, you got to fix that, and when you're ready, I'll see you in the next lesson.